Welcome to 2023. The first day of the year saw a video uploaded to X titled, Archive Number 472, Endless Pursuit of Perfection. Let's watch it together.
I am the master of creation. But to be a creator is no easy feat. Endless iterations, one after the other, all in pursuit of perfection. But who or what defines perfection? Is it the questioning and scrutiny of others? Or is it something deeper, something within myself? The weight of responsibility is heavy. One false move, and all could be lost in the plummet towards chaos. Yet I persist, driven by my love for creation and my desire to guide my beloved apostles. It is a dark and mysterious path, but one that I am grateful to walk, for I am the dreamer, the creator, the one they call Boris the Cook.
Wow. Right? Another stunning production from the team. Let's break it down a little. First, we seem to be shown some part or example of the BYOVERSE. This time, much more than just terrain. We see ingredients or resources being grown or preserved inside what looks like one of Boris's labs. Second, the general design and infrastructure of the room looks complex and mechanical. Interesting. Third, those green pods make an appearance, a nod to their experimental and ongoing mysteriousness. And, perhaps most importantly, the voiceover, portrayed as Boris the Cook, describes the endless perils of creation, with perhaps the team using this fictional character to send a message. This artful play has a double meaning and really allows us to delve into the minds of a team who are striving for greatness. Moving beyond this video, the team dropped an announcement in the Discord on January 3rd wishing everyone a happy new year and dropping some details on a chronological timeline of milestones to come. It started off by bringing the BYOCassettes back to light, mentioning that after multiple revisions and collaboration between the BYO and Lost Boys teams, the time had come to set a date for BYOCassette minting. Minting was said to go live on January 16th, where those who had been part of the snapshot a few months back would be able to mint the BYOCassettes of the biomes held at the time. Then, a major BYOHub update was said to be coming to fruition on January 30th. This update would include an assets overview page alongside an achievement system based on collected items throughout the BYO ecosystem. More details on the new features were said to be released in a dev log on the day of the update. And finally, a nod was given to the long-awaited BYORacer game. Information on the racer, including platform, mechanics, and expected gameplay, was said to be released after the two other milestones had taken place. However, it was said that the community could expect a first version release around the month of April. This announcement was big. The team was coming in hot for the new year, and the community was here for it. Around a week later, on January 8th, the doc joined in on a community discussion around the topic of accessibility of Web3 gaming. He mentioned that the team had been thinking through accessibility and how important it was for allowing more users to join the project. From these discussions, the team had pivoted to develop the BYORacer fully fledged for all mobile devices, both Android and iOS, stating that it would make the game easier to promote and be experienced by more. It was then alluded that a lot of work had been going on behind the scenes to migrate all assets that were originally made for PC to become workable on mobile, with a special focus to maintain great visual fidelity. Apparently, this was a bit more work than just a file conversion. And so there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The BYORacer was set to be a mobile game. This was very exciting. A few days later, the team dropped an announcement to say that a new snapshot for the BYOCassette minting had taken place. This responded to concerns from new community members who had recently collected land parcels yet had not been around during the prior snapshot. This also served as a chance for existing landholders to increase the number of BYOCassettes they would be able to claim had they obtained more biomes since the last snapshot. How nice of the team to reconsider. Then on January 16th, BYOCassette minting went live, with the claim window open for 1 month until February 16th. Each BYOCassette obtained gave the holder token-gated access to download the full WAV file to the biome's official soundtrack. After this, things quieted down a little for the next 2 weeks, as the team prepared to launch the update to the BYOHub platform. However, there was some activity over on X that kept the community stimulated on the run-up. The doc shared some screenshots during his testing of the asset page integration. He'd been stress testing the platform with some particular community members' wallet addresses due to their sheer enthusiasm to collect hundreds, if not thousands, of BYO assets. He also uploaded a photo of BioWare captioned, "BioWare didn't go nowhere." Who knew that he was a lyrical, rhyming genius? Around this time, the main BYOPills X account responded to a tweet of another metaverse project with the video you see looping here. Interesting, huh? A little nod to the BYORacer. Then, before you knew it, the time had come. The BYOHub update arrived on January 30th. An announcement dropped on Discord simply stating, "VYBE is here." A link to a video and explanatory thread on X was provided. Let's watch what happened. The update was introduced as BYO Achievements Volume 1. BYO Achievements gamified collecting into its own rewarding activity. As members explored the ecosystem, trading and gathering items along the way, they'd unlock badges and build their VYBE score, a new metric that would shape future opportunities. Volume 1 introduced 3 distinct achievement categories for members to explore. Token Hunter rewarded members based on their total BYO assets across pills, land, crafts, vapes, and key collections. Ingredient Scavenger recognized those who gathered specific ingredient combinations from across the BYOPills collection. Biome Adventurer celebrated collectors who assembled particular groupings of biome characteristics from the Bioland collection. New achievement paths were planned for upcoming games, adding skill-based challenges to the mix. While members could showcase their collections on profile pages, The real excitement came from how higher VYBE scores would unlock better chances at rare items and exclusive content in future events. Building on the previous point system's focus on rarity, VYBE rewarded thoughtful collectors who built smart collections with future gameplay in mind. It was the project's way of making collecting more engaging, while creating a seamless bridge between collectors and gamers. A few days later, the team pushed an update to BYOHub to resolve some feedback from community members on features such as layout, mobile optimization, and a few small bugs. It was now coming up to the middle of February. Around this time, the team dropped a beautiful photo of a rider BioCraft on their X account, and also provided a reminder of the BYOCassette claiming window closing on February 16th. But after this, things went pretty quiet for the next 2 months. During this time, Peter and Doc would pop into Discord to check in with the community. They addressed concerns about the lack of regular updates, explaining that while they might not be actively chatting in Discord, they were heads down in intense development, but still keeping a close eye on community sentiment. As April rolled around, the community's anticipation started to build. The New Year milestone update had loosely mentioned the first version of the BYORacer arriving around April, and some members were hoping this meant right at the start of the month, if not sooner. The team had to step in and clarify that around April wasn't meant to be taken so literally. Instead, this was when people could expect to start seeing teasers and bits of information about what was coming. They emphasized that they were pushing hard to deliver something truly special, seeing an opportunity in the mobile racer space that deserved more than a rushed development. While they could have shared teasers and documentation earlier, doing so would have limited their ability to make improvements along the way. The team also explained why they kept things under wraps during development. With other projects having bigger budgets and faster development cycles, they needed to play it smart. Keeping their progress quiet until they were ready to launch was their way of staying competitive in the space. But with all of this being said, on April 14th, the Project X account dropped this teaser. BYORacer, Sons of Valkyrie, the first game product from the project, was set to arrive in the vague month of summer, starting with Season 1 in the heat circuit where the race for Trip would commence. Starting towards the end of April, through to the middle of May, the doc began to release some draft test builds of the upcoming BYORacer's mobile user interface, with a particular focus on Jaka's repair shop. But before we look at them all, it's time for a little backstory. Jaka, an OG community member, took affinity in the early days of the project to writing lore about operating a repair shop in the BYOVERSE. This gained traction as an idea amongst the community, even appearing in early BioCraft-related videos, and then eventually, as we see here, solidified its place in the BYORacer game. This is another example of the team integrating in community-based lore to their development. Focusing back on the draft UI specifically, here we see a BioCraft stat overview and visualization page, allowing users the option to customize or repair their craft. Next, we get a glimpse of the pills page, showing how holders would be able to select a BioPill to boost their performance and gain a competitive edge in the game. Whilst we're on this note, Peter shared a diagram in the Discord back in August last year, which showed some of the early thinking on how biopills would integrate into BioCrafts. Based on this diagram, it looks as if pills will play a role in weapons, shields, boosts, and biome adaptations, with trip effects and rarity of traits impacting power duration and intensity. We then see what looks to be a closer example of the customization page, where users can increase the stats of their BioCraft, presumably using the trip balance located at the top right of the page. And then finally, the Pilots page, which allows users to choose their favorite apostle to ride their craft. P-Ether also shared this diagram back in August, showing how progress would work in the BYORacer. Race rewards would be based on your race score, which then splits into two paths: earned XP, which would be multiplied based on your BYOCraft's tier, and earned points, with your apostle's tier acting as a multiplier. Race title multiplier could have been alluding to different types of races, which would impact the overall race score. And so here was the team's response to the community's concerns over BYORacer updates. But if this wasn't enough, what came next certainly was. On May 27th, BYO released their most comprehensive document yet, version 1 of a light paper that would finally pull back the curtain on how they envisioned their game world would function. While subject to iteration and refinement, this document outlined their ambitious vision of a living, breathing world where every action would have lasting consequences. The team structured their vision around 4 key design pillars. The first focused on deep exploration and survival mechanics, drawing inspiration from games like Dune and No Man's Sky. Each biome would present unique environmental challenges, requiring careful preparation and resource management to survive. The second pillar emphasized the delicate balance between exploitation and sustainability. Like a living organism, the world would react to how players treat it through a system called bioenergy. Over-exploitation of resources could trigger environmental reactions, from increased hazards to hostile creature spawns. Players would need to work together to maintain this balance, particularly when managing their biolands. The third pillar revealed how story, crafting, and pills would intertwine in a unique way. The global story quest would unite players in reconstructing the Codex, a mysterious artifact containing the truth about Boris and the world's past. Players exploring ruins might discover unique artifacts, facing the choice to share their findings with the community or keep the knowledge for personal gain. The fourth pillar outlined perhaps their most ambitious vision: a truly player-driven world where organized groups would shape the economy and ecology through their collective actions. Warring guilds, trade alliances, and governance systems would all play crucial roles, with territory control extending beyond simple ownership to include the establishment of trade routes, convoys, and guild bases. In this world, player-built infrastructure could be threatened by major events, requiring coordination and decisive action from the entire community. The success or failure of these collective efforts would have lasting consequences at every scale of the BYOVERSE. To support this player-driven world, the light paper introduced reputation soul-bound tokens, or RSBTs. These tokens could be earned through various activities, from participating in in-game events to staking or donating trip. The more a player contributes to the ecosystem, the more voting power they earn in the BYO Council. This council would be divided into 4 specialized committees: the Defense Force handling PvE threats, the Arbitrator managing PvP activities, the Scientific Bureau overseeing crafting and dungeons, and finally the Treasury, managing trip allocation. While RSBTs would provide the voting power, trip would serve as the means to execute these decisions. At the economic heart of this world sits trip, which exists in 2 forms. Raw trip serves as the primary in-game currency, earned through activities like gathering resources and exploring. Players can process this raw trip at refineries to produce refined trip, or simply just trip, the ecosystem's ERC-20 token, at a predetermined fixed conversion rate. The document also expanded on how Genesis pills, the original 10,000 BYOPills, would function within this economy. Each pill connects to specific ingredients which come in 4 main types: minerals, liquids, plants, and power-ups. These ingredients aren't just resources, they carry unique environmental effects based on their color. A yellow ingredient might induce drought conditions, while a green one could generate humidity effects, adding another layer of strategy to their use. The light paper also detailed how characters would grow over time, not through traditional leveling but through a skill tree system tied directly to their actions. Whether harvesting resources or engaging in combat, players would gain experience in specific fields, unlocking passive abilities and the option to purchase more powerful skills. While any character could potentially master any skill tree, they would be limited by their skill points pool, requiring strategic choices about specialization. The survival mechanics described in the document emphasized the need to manage basic needs like food, water, and oxygen. Players would use customizable survival suits to cope with environmental hazards, but had to carefully balance power consumption. Add too many high-powered components and you risk overloading your suit's systems. This wasn't just another gaming light paper. It was the beginnings of a blueprint for a world where player actions would ripple through the ecosystem, where survival required strategy, and where community coordination could mean the difference between prosperity and environmental catastrophe. While this overview touches on the core elements of BYO's vision, the light paper itself delves much deeper into each of these systems and mechanics. Those interested in understanding the full scope of the planned ecosystem are encouraged to explore the document themselves, as it offers far more detail on everything from character progression to the intricacies of world events. And so while the community was busy digesting all of the information provided in the light paper, less than a week later, on June 1st, the doc dropped a link to a video showcasing a teaser of BYORacer gameplay in a wireframe development environment. He said that it was strictly a sneak peek of what's to come. Interesting. Another nod to the continuous development of the BYORacer behind scenes. On June 9th, an announcement dropped mentioning that the team were in the process of crafting the story and lore of the BYOVERSE, and that they were extending an offer to the community to join in on the world-building process. It was said that your creative input could significantly shape each region's history and identity, and may even influence the main storyline. A new channel was launched called BYOVERSE Lore, and it was said that every few weeks some high-level information on a different region would be released, and that the first set of input would focus on Lumia's Welcoming Hills. Several members of the community posted some well-thought-out and creative stories, which were applauded by the team, but to cut a long story short, this initiative didn't extend past this initial region. Perhaps the time wasn't right. But while we're on the topic of lore, there had been another channel in the Discord simply called Lore, which had been around since November 2021. The opening of this channel deserves an honorable mention to Kebs, who, even before this channel existed, used to post some pretty extensive and foundational lore in the main channel, often written in italics, which he titled The Chronicles. From here, numerous community members also took joy in some creative writing, with another honorable mention to Como, who the biome Como Caves is named after, who can be found emphatically posting numerous articles soon after the channel had been created. But moving on now to June 21st, the doc shared a simple image on X showing a large number of commits to a Git repository, inferring that they might not be active every day, but that things were still happening. Then around 3 weeks later, the main X account dropped this simple video, alluding to some sort of loading screen for the mobile racer app. And then, as it so often quickly comes around, the time had come, July 16th, where the project was celebrating its second-year anniversary. This day saw a major release of information on what to expect for their upcoming mobile game, BYORacer, Sons of Valkyrie. But, before we get into that, let's take a look at the immaculate teaser video that came with it. Alongside this teaser, BYORacer's feature set was unveiled in detail. At its core was to be an early access program planned exclusively for BioCraft holders, a move that aimed to reward the project's earliest supporters while providing crucial testing data. These pioneers would race through several seasonal periods, earning enhanced rewards before the wider release. The game's standout innovation was described as its ghost-based time trial system. Every player's best runs would be recorded as phantom racers, creating an eerily beautiful spectacle of multiple ghost crafts racing simultaneously, ensuring no race would ever feel lonely, even in single-player mode. The competition structure revolved around tiered leaderboards, where rarer craft tiers received larger shares of the reward pool. A sophisticated procedural generation system was designed to ensure that each race would differ from the next, with obstacles repositioned each time you entered the track. BioCraft and Apostle holders would gain access to tier-based multipliers, which would impact both their craft's upgrade speed and potential lap times, a crucial advantage in climbing the leaderboards. Looking ahead, the roadmap suggested that early access season might introduce community battles, where Apostles could compete with other NFT collections wearing a biosuit. The planned public release was set to introduce free-to-play access, power-ups from BYOPills, and, perhaps most intriguing, trip tempests, an innovative seasonal mechanic where danger and rewards escalated hand in hand. The community would be able to manipulate the intensity of these tempest levels, triggering unique environmental hazards specific to each racetrack and biome. In this high-stakes system, how players managed death would significantly impact their final ranking and reward earnings. The feature breakdown demonstrated how far BYORacer had evolved from its initial concept, transforming from what was originally pitched as a mini racer game into what promised to be a complex ecosystem where community, competition, and blockchain technology would intersect in ways gaming had rarely seen before. On the very next day, July 17th, the doc shared a video on X showcasing what the homepage of the BYORacer would look like. Super clean. It then wasn't until over 1 month later until the next teaser came around, which again was shared on the doc's X account on August 24th. This one gave the first glimpse of the game being played on an actual device, showing one of the team testing the BYORacer on their phone. The whole thing looked really clean. Movement looked great, the craft looked high-tech, and the map and environment looked incredibly immersive, all wrapped up in a mobile device. Awesome. The community were questioning, when can I experience this myself? Around 3 weeks later, on September 13th, the man himself shared yet another teaser. This time revealing uncut in-game footage of the repair shop menus, loading screens, and more intricate racing footage. But by now, after months of teasers, the community was eager for these previews to finally transform into something playable. Surely it couldn't be too far off now. But anyway, let's take in the rest of this teaser. There we see those phantom racers in action. Looks like they're lapping the dock. Then on September 24th, the long-awaited announcement finally dropped. BYORacer would officially launch on October 6th, with further details on game mechanics dropping soon. A few weeks later, and October 6th had arrived. The team dropped an initial announcement to say that pre-orders had opened on the App Store and Google Play. Then, sometime later, they dropped a link to their fresh website, BYORacer.com, that housed an in-depth game guide in preparation for the launch later that day. The game guide took form as a Gitbook document, allowing readers to navigate through several different sections that help to break down the mechanics into manageable pieces. Without covering it all, as I'm sure you want to jump straight into the action, but some of the key information provided was as follows. 1. The early access phase was for BioCraft holders only. 2. It was referred to as the absorption experiment, which would provide valuable feedback to refine and enhance the gaming experience for public release. 3. All progress made during early access would be reset upon the full game launch, but that raw trip earned from races and leaderboard ranking would be stored on one's BioHub account. 4th, a BioHub account was needed to log in and play the game. 5. Before early access Season 1 took place, the game would begin as playtesting, used to identify bugs and tweaks to gameplay before the first official season. All craft progress and earning during playtesting would reset before the season kicked off. All right, fine, I hear you. Let's get into the launch. Around 5 hours after the website and game guide was released, the wait was finally over. Early access to BYORacer was now live, kicking off with playtesting, with Season 1 said to launch soon. It was said that bugs were to be expected, especially during playtesting, and that the team would be pushing frequent updates to resolve all issues encountered. 2 new channels were added in the Discord: Report Bugs and Game Suggestions, to support capturing the voice of the community as they dove into the game. The team also dropped a comprehensive tutorial video as an alternative to the game guide. Let's check it out.
Welcome to the early access phase of BYORacer. It has been discovered that biocrafts are absorbing certain tryptamine anomalies around the BYOVERSE. As part of the absorption experiment, we built a track to try to understand this phenomena and called for only biocraft owners to dedicate themselves to the test. Let's see what's in store for us. Survival is not guaranteed. The goal of this experiment is to achieve the fastest lap times within your number of lives. You are also rewarded with raw trip for achieving more laps and longer survival. Speaking of survival, this bar represents your durability. It seems the absorption is causing a constant decrease, while crashing obviously takes a bigger toll. This is your boost bar. Unleash it with this button and fill it up by collecting ingredients around the track. There are a multitude of control technologies for your craft. Choose what works best for you. These are the ghosts. They are projections of other racers' best laps. Aim to beat them to climb up the leaderboard. And these are obstacles that have been erecting in the different places every time you start a new race. Odd. At the end of each race, we tally your absorption, which is based on a formula intertwining the fastest lap time and number of laps completed. Both your biocraft and Apostle absorb raw trip from the track. After your offerings, your biocraft absorption results in raw trip charge, which upgrades its level. Satisfying. The Apostles also extract raw trip that accumulates in your balance. You would use that for upgrades in Joker's repair shop. Now that this craft has leveled up, let's head there and spend our hard-earned raw trip. Every time you level up, you receive 10 upgrades. Upgrading durability increases your number of lives and adds to your durability bar. Acceleration increases your initial speed and the number of boost segments you can fill. Experiment with the different attributes, as multiple strategies can be implemented. In Joka's repair shop, you get to see all your crafts and change to the biocraft you want to race with. You would then choose your apostle to pilot the craft. Each apostle has a different extraction multiplier. And last but not least, the Valkyries. They hover above the tracks and salvage the souls of fallen apostles. Choose a goddess to worship and offer a part of your raw trip. In return, receive blessing that can carry you to victory on the track. You are now prepared for the experiment. May the goddesses be forever in your favor, for on the track you become the Sons of Valkyrie.
And so, there you have it. The first version of the BYORacer was officially live, and the pillagers all eagerly rushed to download the game and jump into the action. The October 6th release marked the beginning of an intensive playtesting period. For the first time, the community could finally experience BYORacer for themselves. This wasn't just about letting people play, it was about creating a feedback loop between the players and developers. As pillagers took to the track, discovering bugs and sharing their experiences, the team worked to refine the game's mechanics and overall feel. In the first few days of playtesting, some of the community experienced a bug in Joka's repair shop that made them unable to upgrade their craft stats. Instead, a never-ending animation loop appeared. This transpired to become somewhat of a community meme, eventually being made into a Discord emote titled "When," though it was quickly patched. On October 25th, the team announced their first major update since the game entered playtest mode. The changes focused on two distinct playstyles. For speed-focused players, several quality-of-life improvements were introduced. A restart race button was added, allowing pilots to quickly reset their attempts at fastest lap times. Races would now begin with a flying start at almost maximum speed, eliminating the slow build-up and letting players immediately chase those fast lap times. However, the survival aspects were also significantly enhanced. The game now used average lap times to calculate the total absorption score at the end of each race, rather than focusing on single lap performance. Each completed lap would enhance the craft's speed, acceleration, and handling, but the team had tripled the negative impact of raw trip's absorption on craft durability. As pilots completed more laps, the accumulated damage would intensify, making extended sessions more challenging yet rewarding. The update introduced a crucial risk-reward mechanic around speed, where maintaining speeds above 70% would protect against raw trip absorption's damaging effects. This meant pilots were encouraged to push their limits, as slower speeds would result in greater environmental damage to their craft. It was a demanding balance, requiring skill to maintain high speeds while navigating the track's challenges. Looking ahead, the team announced plans for a dedicated survival leaderboard, which would run alongside the existing fastest lap rankings, ensuring both playstyles would be recognized when Season 1 launched. A quick hotfix followed on October 30th, addressing some minor bugs. But it wasn't until November 27th that the team rolled out their next major update. Among its changes was the promised second leaderboard, now officially implemented as the absorption score ranking system, complementing the existing fastest lap leaderboard and rewarding pilots who focused on survival. The update brought comprehensive changes to the control schemes. Joystick and controller inputs were toned down, while tap controls became more responsive. They introduced a new sides tap control scheme and implemented a system where higher speeds would decrease craft responsiveness, placing greater importance on upgrading the handling stat. These control changes, along with the need to analyze how they impacted raw trip absorption, led to a complete reset of all BYOCraft progression and leaderboards. The team assured players that their dedication to these early stages would be recognized and rewarded, despite this reset. The update also refined track design, reducing boost ingredients for more balanced racing. Based on collected raw trip earnings data, craft upgrade costs were increased across the board. Additionally, pilots could now upgrade their craft's durability to 8 lives, giving them more attempts at extended survival runs. A season progress bar was also introduced, showing how much raw trip remained to be absorbed, revealing that play would end once the supply was depleted, setting the stage for how future seasons would operate. With these changes, the game was moving closer to its vision for Season 1. In the full devlog for this update, buried within the technical details, were hints of something bigger on the horizon. The team had been quietly implementing multiplayer features, syncing player effects and animations, adding overhead nameplates, and creating matchmaking screens. These subtle additions suggested that pillagers might not be racing alone for much longer. Just 2 days later, on November 29th, the team rolled out another update focused on refining the game's pace and intensity. They had observed play sessions extending beyond their vision of quick, thrilling races. The solution was a strategic overhaul of the raw trip absorption system. The update increased the damage pilots would take during races, with this effect intensifying with each lap. However, it also introduced a sophisticated speed-based survival mechanic. Crafts with critical health, indicated by a red health bar, could have their damage taken by maintaining speeds between 80% and 95%, or nullify it completely by pushing beyond 95% speed. Even crafts with decent health, shown by a yellow bar, could significantly reduce their damage taken by maintaining these high speeds, though not as dramatically as those in critical condition. These changes reinforced the game's core design, rewarding pilots who could handle their craft at the edge of its capabilities, while ensuring races remained intense and concise. This update attempted to address a growing divide in the community. Highly skilled pilots had discovered they could extend their sessions well beyond 30 minutes, gradually accumulating lap bonuses to achieve top scores through these marathon sessions. While this showcased impressive skill, many felt it created an unfair advantage for those who couldn't dedicate hours to perfecting these extended runs. This update attempted to rebalance the playing field, not by removing the skill ceiling, but by adjusting how long pilots could sustain these sessions. After months of playtesting, through multiple updates and countless bug fixes, the time had finally come. On December 26th, the team announced that BYORacer's first official season would launch on January 1st, 2024. This early access Season 1 would be exclusive to BYOCraft holders, rewarding those who had helped shape the game through its development. The team revealed their play-to-airdrop campaign, where approximately 3% of all trip tokens would be distributed across multiple seasons as raw trip rewards. The season would introduce new BYO achievements, allowing pilots to earn badges and boost their VYBE scores in the BYOHub. A special set of achievements would also recognize the dedication of early playtesters. While Season 1 remained exclusive to BYOCraft holders, the team stated that future seasons would open up to the broader Web3 community. 2023 was a year of delivery for the BYOPills project. Despite the persistent bear market in the wider crypto space, the team maintained their development momentum, bringing key elements of their ecosystem to life. Early in the year brought the beautiful BYOCassettes collection, and a major update to BYOHub that introduced BYO achievements and VYBE to gamify the collecting experience. The release of their comprehensive Litepaper in May further strengthened the project's foundations. But it was the arrival of BYORacer in October that marked the most significant achievement, finally putting the game in the community's hands after almost 2 years of anticipation. Through months of playtesting, updates, and refinements, BYORacer evolved through community feedback. As 2023 drew to a close, the announcement of Season 1's January 1st launch had the community ready for action. The project was ready to begin its next chapter,